We haven't seen Slark in a while, though.
Hmm.
I, I question the effectiveness of a position 1 Slark these days. Is it good enough to go against, say, something like the Morphling?
I reckon it is. I think again, you've already got the Bloodseeker to juggle with a morph. Slark, if you are morphing strength, you're just giving Slark more opportunities to stack some agi up with right clicks, and he can just hide himself in the Shadow Dance. You don't have the Bloodseeker on new esports side to counteract that Slark because that's the natural counter, right? You see a Slark, you pick the Bloodseeker. It's all on TNC's end, so it's going to be a bit trickier to lock that Slark in. The key thing that's going to be coming out for TNC next is it looks like they're lacking the Armel hero unless they're giving him Bloodseeker. So the mid pickup is going to set the pace because the Bloodseeker plays pretty fast. The natural buildup we've seen is, that Veil of Discord. So you're going to want mid that can pump up that magic damage, I'd say in this case. The Spirit Brothers have been left alone except for Void Spirit. You could opt for the Storm or the Ember. Either one kind of works out here. I would. I'd say in this case, Storm would probably have a better time simply because of the lack of hold here from new esports. Their most reliable stun is Burst Strike and the Lift combo. Maybe the Morphling stun as well if you want to count that, but it'd be easy to slide in and out. You don't have any instantaneous stuns to worry about if you do pick that Storm for Armel here. The Quap would have been nicer, but that was banned way earlier by new esports.
Well, I realize that there's a lot less magic damage with something like the Kunkka, but I was also thinking maybe they
Hmm.
could go into an Armel Kunkka here.
Hmm.
Considering, like, you just want a tempo setting fighting kind of mid-core right now. I mean, you've got the Slark, you've got the Bloodseeker. You just want to fight. The X is obviously very effective up against the
Hmm.
Morphling Sand King, because you can just X him up and he can't get away. And you can also just build into a Spirit Vessel if you did want to on the
Hmm.
Kunkka, right? You could just rush a
Yeah.
Spirit Vessel, make that Morphling's life even harder. And I think it would fit what TNC is trying to do. By the way, John, the boat run, I I saw this the
Yeah.
other day and it kind of disgusted me. The boat rum affects the Chen creeps. So
Oh.
yeah, it's something I'd never noticed before, but it actually tanks up the Chen creeps even more. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
I'm pretty sure it does, unless it was something else. I could be forgetting now, but I'm very very sure that was the case. And they go for the
Oh,
Conker. There
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You called it. You called it. It's the Armored Special. It adds to that durability. You don't need someone to zip in and out if you can just buff everyone up and run around with Bloodseeker. So you've got the control for the Morphling. You've got the AoE tie-up for your team now because you kind of lacked out outside Bloodright and Avalanche. So now you've got control. You've got the Chen heal and the boat rum, as you mentioned. It is pretty ridiculous. New Esports has to find a way to eat through that durability here with her
Yep.
last pick. It is going to have to be a mid matchup. Now, the one-on-one matchup with Kunkka isn't necessarily the hardest. It's that you're looking for something to give you that impact, and DBZ is going to have to carry his weight. They go
Ooh.
with a gyro.
Okay. I mean, you can
Hmm.
morph into the gyrocopter too, right? So you
Mm.
can take the flak cannon. We've seen how broken that can be. But it is a
Yeah.
very greedy kind of core lineup here from New Esports, right? Like, you've got these three
Mm.
heroes. You've got the Rubik Clockwork Sand King, who aren't so greedy. They love to run around and fight. But then you've got Morphling Gyro, who are... I mean, Gyrocopter can fight, but it's... If you don't farm, it's kind of like, what are you going to
Mm.
do?
Yeah, it does fall a bit flat in that case. New Esports, the combination with Jar and Morph, I don't know if it's worth 4.2k net worth to go into the Ags just to turn into Gyro. I think if you're the Morphling, you're going to be looking for something else. It's not as broken as like the Shaker. Maybe down the line, but I think DDZ is going to have to play a much more straightforward Morph here because you don't want to be playing that farming game. Not with a Gyrocopter around who will also want to soak up. The key here for new esports is to sort of play fast. It's a fast Gyrocopter game. You play with your early magic damage. You shove out waves. You take these team fights with your Sand King, and you try to win out that way. For TNC's part, they can stave off that a lot. They can try to force pushes with March's Chen, and they can sustain themselves. The key thing for TNC is to hit those level 6 marks, especially for March. Like, as the support Chen in this game, you're going to want that Hand of God very quickly. So that's one thing for TNC. Otherwise, new esports, they do have pretty good lanes. They can play this aggressively. They've just got to make it work. This Gyrocopter Morphling duo, we've seen it once or twice before. The results have been less than stellar. So there's a lot of pressure here from new esports to make this greedy lineup work.
Oh, there certainly is. We'll get into it. Game number 1 of the day. I mentioned it was a very exciting day, John. A lot of big matchups. I mean, yesterday was pretty lit as well, I'm not going to lie, but today, you know, I woke up feeling very excited. Don't take that the wrong way, John. Get your mind out of the gutter.
No, every day is going to be exciting. It looks set to be super exciting. Yeah, Southeast Asia's with those roster shuffles, every team just looks exciting. You know, tier 2 teams are popping off as well. New Esports is one of them. I think 032 is another team to watch out for. So every single time we get to see these teams up against the top dogs, you're always in for a treat.
That you are. DDZ getting the tips very, very early on. Very nice to see, though. They are from his own teammate.
God of Dota, DDZ. Oh, Armel with respect. I mean, Arrow Gaming, man. All those years ago. Oh, they looked great until, you know, until certain things happened, Mike. Certain things.
Indeed they did, John. So,
just 30 seconds now.
You're a god, no kappa.
Lots of respect.
I mean, it's good to see, right? Like, that's what you want. Although we love, you know, grudge matches and things like that.
Yamate, Beast 2, then he says, you're all washed up. What the hell, Armel? What are you doing?
You know Armel, he loves talking trash, this bloke. Alright, get into it. Game number 1. A 2-for-2 banner in trade, nothing too special happening here, unless March is currently getting attacked by Mosin, but Mosin's now going to get surrounded with our battery assault. Tims can't break the gap for a toss back, so they're just going to let him go. Just take a bit of harassment. Be just fine. Get into the laning stage.
Yeah, it's a good start for New Esports. They did manage to snag one away for March, so it's a 3-for-1 bounty trade. Going to set themselves up nicely, and you look at that top lane. This is not going to be too fun of a time for Yamate. He's on the gyrocopter, he's got Mazin around in that block, but look at this combination with KP and Tims. Once you start to get the blood rights off and the avalanche toss combo comes in, you don't want to step in that AoE. It's going to be really easy to punish a misstep.
Tims does get battery assaulted up by Mosin, but of course you can just toss him away when he does that. In the mid lane, John, Armel and DDZ up against each other. Morphling versus Kunkka. And it should be fairly even, right? You can't really imagine DDZ dying too early on, unless he does make a bit of a misstep. And it's the same story for Armel. DDZ probably won't get aggressive on this Morphling unless he does have some support rotations.
Yeah, it's going to be rather even. I'd put a slight advantage to Armel in terms of clearing out the creep wave. So the Kunkka should be able to find a little bit more farm and should be able to apply that pressure with the Tidebringer. DDZ is going to have to be cautious with how he juggles that HP. It's really a weird balancing act when you're a Morphling against Bloodseeker. So that's one thing DDZ has to be pretty conscious about. Of course, on the bot lane as well, you've got Candyloon and Barry up against Gabby and March on the Chen. And it's that offlane Sand King again. You know, Candy's doing an okay job, 5-0 so far. Did opt for the Sandstorm Caustic build. But without that stun, that doesn't mean you're going to get kill opportunities.
Top lane, Mosin does go down. Now Yamate going to get a trade on the Gyrocopter and KP. Just leave it at that, but he does secure first blood on our Bloodseeker. So things are looking very, very nice for TNC to start us off.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want with the Bloodseeker. It's a snowball-based hero. The Tiny is as well, just finding the first blood. First, it really sets up the blood to at least get a little bit more in the laning phase, and that's when it starts to get tricky. Level 3 marks coming out, especially on Tims. Once you've got that burst, again, you've got melee support against this duo. Mosin can't really exert that pressure.
Oh, that's beautiful from Gabby. Just taking full advantage of that Orb of Venom, and you don't have the brown boots yet on the Rubik. He opted to go for the regen build to try and trade harass, and it does not pan out. Especially when you've got that Orb of Venom slow on the Slark. You just can't get away.
Oh,
in fact, now,
Candy?
Another great pounce. Candy's in trouble. Sentry Ward to be placed down. March helping out. Candy will be able to walk away thanks to the lift, and it looks like Barry will end up giving a salve over to the Sand King.
Yeah, and that's going to be really important to maintain that HP. This is an issue with the Sand King without the Burrow Strike. You just can't help yourself or you can't trade back. And every single time this offlane bleeds an HP, it speeds up the progress for KP up top. So you really have to be cautious about your spacing here if you're new esports.
I love the way Gabby's playing this though, John. He's so aggressive. Every time they come close to the creep wave, he runs at them, gets a few essence shift stacks and backs off again. And that's why he went for that level 2 essence shift. Right, you get the longer duration, and you basically zone them out of lane constantly. There's just nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, Candy is trying to exert that pressure with Caustic Finale triggers, but it's just not catching Gabby out. He's spacing himself perfectly fine. He's last hitting under the towers. March is keeping that lane in equilibrium as well. So overall, a really nice time for TNC down bot. Up top as well, look at that, Mosin.
Trouble again. Avalanche is out from Tim's. Mosin going to be okay for now. Yamate trying to help with the rocket barrage, but he'll get tossed up. Looks like KP will just leave it at that. No need to risk anything. Of course, he does get that added movement speed now thanks to the low HP pull of the clockwork, so I'm sure he's happy to just keep him at that HP.
Oh yeah, it's probably one of the things for TNC. Even if they don't find these kills, you're still having a good time because KP gets to apply more pressure towards Yamate, and you can see that is hurting our Gyrocopter's farm. He's not doing as well as you'd expect him to. Behind Gabby by 4 last hits, and you can see KP take over that lane. 21-6, a really good time for the Bloodseeker so far.
He has. Looking back at mid, Armel has been really dominating in terms of CS. Just 6 ahead of the Morphling at the moment. DDZ keeping up, but he has to be just a little bit cautious about how much damage he does take. Top lane, however, Tims is able to pick up a kill onto Mosin, and now Yamate going to be able to snag the bounty rune. Can he TP out? He can. Tims did not have Avalanche Toss available, nor did he have the mana. They'll have to let the Gyrocopter go, though. Bot lane, Barry just can't catch a break. Gabby's just hitting like a truck right now on that Slark. He will return back to the lane now and probably will start going on to Candy Lure.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about Gabby's aggressive plays. How often do you see the pause 1 going for those bounty runes? He leaves the lane, he lets March soak some EXP again, realizing that they need that fast timing in the Chen. So a lot of discipline from TNC to evenly split that EXP, and they're just rewarded. They're not being punished for these greedy movesets.
No, they are not. 3 heroes up top now from TNC. Armel going to join in. They want to go after Yamate with the toss in from Tims. And, oh, Yamate, it's going to be hard to get out of this one. The boat to fly in. And he is almost certainly just gone. Mosin just staring from a distance, not knowing what to do to help him out. They might just get started on that tier 1 tower push.
And this is not good news for new esports. A 2K lead for TNC early. They've got the greedier draft. They can play catch-up with the Gyrocopter. The issue is you've got a Gyrocopter and a Morphling that will need to farm that jungle. There might not be enough space to support both of them and Candy Loon on the Sand King. Like, all 3 heroes need certain items to really be efficient in that mid-game.
That they do. 3 heroes down bot now. They're going to try and pressure with this siege creep for the side of new esports. Gabby is around, but he can't defend this by himself, and it looks like he's just going to rotate the top lane. Who have they caught out there? It's a rupture toss away onto Mosin. Well, there you go. It's raining blood now. That'll be the first kill, no, second kill onto Mosin, and well, the first rupture toss kill.
Oh yeah, and it's a beauty to watch. I'm not sure how Clockwork bleeds out. You'd expect that tin can armor to hold it in, but still bleeds through, and they're trying to go for the tower trades. You do see a rotation out top to try to push it back. DDZ saving his tier 1 for a bit, but it's already really low in HP, just 70 left. Might go for the deny.
He does. Bit of gold denied off from TNC. Still going to be a nice little win out for this side of new esports. Seems like TNC don't really mind this at all. They will get started in the mid lane now. And this is the beauty of their draft. There's no downtime. They've got low cooldowns, they've got heroes that don't need farm, and they can just keep running at the side of new esports with no hesitation.
Yeah, you're really seeing that aggression playing. Gabby's not farming, he's just focusing on that push. You see the rotations by the supports, but Mosin and Barry are just level 3. They can't really stop 2 cores going at mid straight away. It looks like they're actually just going to go for a rotation. Have some good wards to spot DDZ out.
They have the rupture. DDZ, if he takes the rupture, he's in trouble, and he waveforms away. He was strength morphing, but Gabby is happily going to start taking stats away. Bloodrite is there with the boat to fly in, and DDZ has no chance of survival. Another great rotation out from TNC, and they're just going to go back mid.
Yeah, it's just a rinse and repeat. You mentioned it, but no cooldowns to wait for, no farm necessary, just constant aggression to feed the war machine that is TNC. New Esports, they're buying some time. They've left Yamate alone to farm up, but the Gyrocopter is sacrificing his Morphling for this.
Lift up onto KP, but they just don't have the lockdown, and March is there anyway. You do have the Veil of Discord up on Candyloon now, but he is very far off getting that Blink Dagger up. And it is going to be very, very important for him to have that available ASAP. His team does need the added teamfight control, and mobility for that matter. Everyone on New Esports is just behind. Their highest net worth at the moment being DDZ, but this is what you come to expect from drafts like this. You just understand that your early game is going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, they're trying their best to just maintain some farming presence. There's a smoke out from Candy and Mosin. I don't know if they're going to be expecting any successful rotation out. They might just be going on a warding run, but a two-man smoke like this with a level 4 clock doesn't come to mind as a success in my eye. Let's see if they make that work.
It's pretty tough when it's only a level 4 clock. Can't really close the gap very well. They're looking at Tim's down at that bot lane, but he already understands something is going wrong here, or maybe not. Candyloon does have his smoke broken, now under vision. And they just can't afford to try for this, so they're going to have to back off again.
Yeah, it's small movements like that that are pretty costly. It is buying time for the two bigger cores to farm up, but then you have Candy not doing anything. Look at Yamate
Yamate, he's been ruptured up again. Tims still has the toss, he just hasn't used it yet, and will toss it back into KP. Oh, what a combination. That's a...
Oh, man.
all the way from Dota 1, John. This used to be a thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a classic. You know, it's that and Rupture Hook, which we'll probably never see because Pudge is dead in the water. So we'll have to settle with the toss, and it's just lovely. TNC, they find the opportunities, they get the punishment out. New Esports, the silver lining is that if one core dies, another core is farming. The issue is you're still losing one core in that equation, which doesn't add up to an equal amount. Something's got to pay. At least DDZ's got his Morbid Mask, so you can safely farm as the Morphling, but it just takes so much investment for the Morphling to be big. We're looking at maybe a BKB, maybe a Manta, a Lincoln Sphere for sure in this game. And that's just a lot of gold to ask from one hero with this kind of limited map already.
And you look at Armel, he's smoked up now with Tims, and they're looking down at Yamate at that bot lane. I love the fact that Armel is rushing the Spirit Vessel as well, by the way, just to really amplify how fast they can kill this Morphling. Once he has that up, it's hard to see how they're going to be safe on DDZ. As soon as he gets X'd up, he's basically dead. In fact, they're running to him right now. Tim's going to group up with KP. They want to commit that Rupture again. It looks like they will back off in time, New Esports, and be within safety range.
It's pretty decent readout. Again, they're not crossing a river for the most part, beyond Yamate in that bot lane, but they've stayed disciplined. They're staying on their side of the map, just slowly farming up. The key thing here for New Esports is that their tier 1 is still alive. So as long as they keep that alive, they can maintain that jungle control, but get TNC, they're not looking to keep that up for long.
Oh, hookshot in Mosin. It's a great hookshot out with 2 in the cogs. Bloodright's going to be there. Mosin, he is melting quick. He needs help. Well, the X-Bone is going to fly in with the Rupture out on Candyloon, so he can't Burrow Strike in again. And Mosin, maybe just a bit early there. Bloodright is going to be out. Tims looking for a toss back on Candyloon, but Sentry is going to be placed. They get the Torrent off as well. Candy's in trouble, but gets the Burrow Strike in time. Still Hand of God, keeping Tims alive. He is not dead yet. The waveform's going to miss. They do finally kill him off. Now Yamate, he's in big, big trouble. He does go down to KB. Armel, he'll get the X off onto DDZ with the Torrent follow-up, and Gabby back to stealing stats. We'll let it go. Back towards that T1. In fact, no, Mosin, he goes again on the clockwork. But we'll let it go, and that T1 tower is as good as gone.
Oh yeah, it's It's a messy back and forth. You lose your pause 1 for a pause 4. You're still going to be happy as TNC. You finally take that mid-tier 1. Now the jungle control New Esports maintained for their cores can be harder to keep up. You're going to have to toss more wards down to ensure that it's safe to farm. And TNC, they've already had some deep wards. Now that you don't have that TP point, New Esports has to be a lot more cautious with where they farm. It just gets harder and harder to find that space out here for these tree-heavy farming cores.
It's another reason why you don't really want to play up against March's Chen either, right? Like, you saw him in that last team fight, how much time he bought Tim's. And they just had to concentrate and waste so many more spells just trying to burst down the Tiny. He's just going to instantly heal you up for over 500 HP with that Hand of God and Mech. And I just love the fact that he skipped the boots. He realizes he doesn't need it. He just needs to be able to heal up his team constantly throughout a team fight, and eventually the boots will come. In fact, he's not even going boots now. He's rushing Vladimir's offering. Great support play here from March.
Very selfless play from March, just ensuring that his team is always set to go, and he's just playing into that momentum. TNC, they don't like sitting back. They don't like farming up. They want to keep running at you. They've got the 4K lead at 14 minutes in, 9-2. And New Esports, they're still having good farm on DDZ. That's the best you can say. They're working towards that Manta style first and a morph. But you can see that DDZ's already had to farm down bot. It's just not safe anywhere else. Not on his own side of the river anymore.
No, he'll have to take the more contested farm. And it is definitely not safe, but he knows everyone from TNC is around the mid lane at the moment. They are not looking to go back to their own jungle. Still New Esports now. They do have the Blink Dagger coming out on Candyloon, and that could be really game-changing here. But he does need a level to get his Epicenter up. And at this point, I think if you're Candyloon, you do want that level 1 Epicenter ASAP, but Mosen goes for a hookshot onto Tim's. Tim's waiting it out. Armel is just behind. They'll toss Mosen back. Still, Tim's does get focused down, but now Mosen going to cop a boat right to the face. Is it going to be enough? Not quite. Burrow strike in. Now the stolen boat out from Barry. Back into the side of TNC, but they don't mind. They'll keep fighting. Candyloon, he is dropping very, very low at the moment. Still trying to run, but he has no way out. He's gone. The call down, though. Out onto Gabby, but he'll Shadow Dance. Back onto DDZ. He'll waveform through, going after March. Now KP's in trouble. He'll make a run for it, but it looks like he is going to go down. And that was some great, great play out from Barry John. Stolen boat and then stolen blood right.
Oh yeah, a lot of that was off the back of Barry just getting those key spells, keeping them alive. Those few seconds you bought out with a boat just enabled them to get the damage out. And you can see New Esports in the right conditions when TNC is not fully grouped up together, and when they lose March early, it can go a bit messy for them if they're not careful.
Oh, Barry. Bit out of position there, Barry. Just trying to farm that mid wave, but perhaps assuming TNC would have backed off by this point still. They're going to try and get a trade here onto Armel, and that'd be a massive one. Hand of God does come in. Armel does run away. Now the Rupture is out onto Yamate, but he's going to go for a TP attempt. KP does not have a Yules up, but they get the X in time. Mel's going to bring him back into the Blood Right and the Torrent. Here comes March and Tim's. The Avalanche is there. Yamate, he's gone. Candyloon now with the Epicenter going onto Armel, but the boat's going to fly in. It won't be enough, but it does stun up too. Now Gabby, there to join his team, will go after Mosen. No, make that Candyloon as they already get Mosen. Do they have detection? No, they do. They do. Everything's fine.
Man. Oh, it was the Tourist. He got clipped right at the end to drop into Tourist range, and they just spotted him. They had vision of him in the end. They cleaned that up. So after a good fight for New Esports, they overextend a bit. They start to split up themselves. They get punished. So TNC's back up there 15-6. New Esports has to be a bit more disciplined. March was alive. March had Hand of God. He didn't use it in the first fight, and the sustain came into play. The key thing for New Esports is if they can kill March first, then force a fight afterwards. That's how they win. That's what they need to do to meet those conditions, and you can't force a fight if you don't see March. You just can't. He's going to keep them all alive way too long.
Good old March. He's got a shovel and he's got 4 salves right now. Which is pretty standard, by the way. Every time I get a shovel, John, I swear there'll be games where I won't get 1 bounty rune, and I'll use that shovel off cooldown like it's a Midas, But I will not get one bounty. I'll just get salves the whole time. It's not a nice
Yeah.
feeling.
I do like the salve though. Like it's a good amount of gold, right? Better than the creep. Yeah,
Uh-oh,
it's
Barry.
way better than finding that creep.
Barry just casually stole boat off Armel.
Is under attack.
Armel forgetting to cast another spell. So they can try and look to use that against TNC a bit later on. Like, you may as well just wait for a defense attempt here for New Esports before you do throw that boat out. It is going to be that much more effective once you're near your own tower. TNC, we'll see if they do want to make that sort of push play right now.
They're being a bit more patient. You know, they've got Armel on the different side of the map farming up. They're working towards a Scotty on that Slork. They're securing the top jungle. They're not playing offensively. They've slowed down a bit here, TNC. They want to get some key items up first. They know New Esports are starting to pump up there. You look at the EDZ, he is actually going for that ag spot.
Sorry, John, I apologize. Apparently there's a bit of an issue and we have to restart the stream. So I apologize, but we're back, TNC. They just take a tier 2 top tower. There was no fights that broke out or anything like that. Nothing too special that we missed. Just a tier 2 top tower.
Yeah, it's not much. You can see New Esports, they've kind of settled in. Like, if you're going to take these towers, as long as it's not the high ground, we're going to farm. We're close to that Ags for DDZ, so he can become the better gyrocopter, as we like to say. And once you reach that point, there might be enough in the tank for DDZ to start pumping out the damage. Even Yamate is progressing nicely into a BKB, so they're going to be able to exert that presence once it's up. They're just stalling for time here in New Esports. They're still at a 6k deficit, though. So this stalling out is coming at a bit of a cost. The cores of TNC grow bigger and bigger, and there's only so much that you can expect from these farm cores when everyone else is that poor, and TNC straight to the Roche pit.
Well, they are. Gabby working towards that Eye of Skadi now. That Roshan, they're actually not going to go for it all the way. They haven't got the quick damage. They're going to smoke up and run straight into New Esports. Rupture going to be out onto Mosin. KB just going to run straight forward. Mosin's been left behind. Back Tims, he's going to go for more now. Catches out Barry and DDZ. He's going to get X'd up into the torrent boat of Armel. KB there, no Blood Rite available, but Candy Loon, he comes in with the Epi Burrow. Yamate trying to fight back, but look at the hills out from March. He's not letting anyone die here. Candy Loon, he's gone. Yeah, Tims is looking for more. He's looking for a toss back onto Yamate. They're not going to be able to get it, but this Chen pickup is proving to be way too strong.
It definitely is. This is why you banned Chen against TNC. March didn't even use the Hand of God. He didn't use it. All he had to do was pop the mech. They're still alive. They still have the Hand of God. And New Esports, we talked about it earlier, the times they win is when March is dead. You cannot force the fight if March is alive. You cannot jump anyone but March first. If you catch March out, you can win the follow-up. But they go in, they get punished for it. New Esports now, again, you see TNC right back in the pit, and after blowing that epicenter, it's going to be tricky to force a fight in there if you want to at all.
It's also the pipe on KP. He popped the pipe as the Burrow Strike Epi came in, and so with the mech heal from March, it made it that much more difficult to get any form of damage out. And this is really starting to become a massive problem for New Esports. As the Roshan is going to go down, they do rocket flare it up, so they have an opportunity to try and steal it, but they're not within range. This is where you'd love to be at that Roshan pit as Mosin to be able to hook shot in and try to at least take the Aegis away. But he is not. And with that, TNC, they're just going to keep going. There's no reason to stop. Down to the bot lane. They see Yamate. Armel going to be able to get the X off with the Torrent Boat once again. And the Spirit Vessel to make things even worse. There's your Blood Run out from KB, and Barry, he kind of stares at his carry for a second, but realizes there's not much he can do. He'll go for a TB play, and will make it out. Tim's almost got him, but not quite.
Yeah, it's still a big win for TNC, finding that big core once more. Fortunately for Yamate, he did buy out the BKB. They've got the BKB up on the gyro. There's a little bit more he can do in these fights. You've got to contend with the Vlads up from March, though. So there's more durability here for TNC, some sustain coming out as well. And it's just amping up on TNC's strengths. They're just going to be able to right-click through and regen up. There's nothing to really stop that regeneration out from new Esports as well. They just don't have anything like an early vessel, like any sort of build-up into a Scotty or a Shiva's Guard. So the sustain is always going to be effective.
They group up again, new Esports, looking to maybe try and force a team fight at their tier 2, but it is very dangerous into an Aegis of Gabby. They have boat back up in 3 seconds to make matters worse, so there's no downtime here. In fact, Ron of Atos now available on KP. God. He'll get the Blood Right Rupture. Onto Yamate and Armel, gonna go for an easy X into a Torrent. Tim's looking for the toss back. They kind of messed that one up. Armel X'd him back on the toss. DDZ won't get the Burrow Strike though. Now Mosen, a great cogs out with the boat to fly in, but Mosen just melts. But there goes Tim's on the Tiny. He's also down. Now the Rod of Atos back out from KB, but they're chasing Yamate on the gyrocopter. Gabby, he needs to turn around back onto this Morphling, and he will, but DDZ's already out. So 1 for 1. Just the position 4's dying here.
It's trickier for new Esports. They've expended their call down. They do still have Epicenter to play with from Candy if they want to try and jump in. They are really holding on to this tier 2, but you can see TNC, they're not really backing off. They've still got the Aegis on Gabby, and he's stuck in an awkward spot. Leaping right behind the shop. He's stuck. There you go. Get out.
Get out of there, Gabby.
Oh,
DDZ got spotted. Mind you, Gabby does have that Scotty up. He's going for that Aghanim Scepter, John. Did you happen to see the Slashers Way video that just came out?
No, I haven't. What was it?
He made a Slark video, John.
Oh.
Yeah, just rush Ags, apparently, according to Slasher.
Well, we've seen that build up for a while. You know, the extra jumps are still pretty nice to have. And of course, with the aggression, they play it really tight in, although...
Well, the Rod of Atos again proving to be great. Burrow Strike not going to connect from DDZ, and a boat's coming. Don't connect though. DDZ still in danger. Gabby now on top. He doesn't have waveform available. He's trying to Burrow Strike away, but it was on cooldown. Still the 4-staff now. Gonna protect. There's an avalanche up from Barry trying to save. Now the TP away with the waveform, and they can't cancel. They're gonna turn back around, however, and punish Barry on the Rubik. Barry really was the reason why that Morphling was able to waveform away like that, Johnny. He got a nice avalanche still and just stopped them from being able to finish the job off.
Oh yeah, they're finding ways to stay alive, but TNC's still winning out in these trades. That tier 2 tower has lived a lot longer than you'd expect, but they're going on Yamate.
He's got a BKB up. That's a 9-second charge being expended here. Back onto KB, but there's no damage. Call down. Good shot. Mosen, he's going to try. Candyloon to Burrow Strike in, but KP is taking 0 damage here. Now he's taking a bit. Another Burrow Strike out, but the heals are starting to come in. KP, he's still alive, but they do kill off Tim's. Now the cavalry comes in, a 3-man torrent out from Armel, and they're going to turn this one back around. There's Yamate gone. Now the boat's flying in. Candyloon, he'll survive, but Mosen will not on the clock, and now Candy's gone. DDZ trying to get out of there, but he's been ruptured up, and he's got nowhere to go. 4-staff though from Barry will again save him, but the X back from Armel will bring him back. Still waveform now going to be out, but Gabby does get the pounce off in time. He adaptive strikes away, looking for a burrow, can't get it. Still DDZ, no, he will go down a KP this time around. And they look to set up for that tier 3 top tower, TNC.
Oh yeah, it's 26-9. You're seeing Barry really just try to put that work in with a 4-staff, just buying time for new Esports. It's never enough time though. They do stall out, the Aegis is gone, but nothing to stop this push.
Hookshot, Mosen trying to protect his Rubik, gets a nice cogs off, but it may cost him his life. Yamate is going to come in with the flat cannon. Now Burrow Strike, Gabby's still alive, goes into the Shadow Dance and does take out Mosen. Onto Yamate. Torrent is there with the vessel. BKB going to be forced out. And they just want to retreat out of here, TNC. No, never mind. They're going to go back in now. Gabby, he's got 36 stolen stacks of Agi.
Ooh, boy. Oh, that is the dream if you're Slark. just doing all the damage. He's also had his Scotty for a while, so any region that you might have had in New Esports is way lessened out. And he's got his Ags flying in. So TNC, they do manage to clear that tier 3. They're just going to back off. They reset. You know, they lost the Aegis by expiry. No, they smoke up. Gonna pull a sneaky one.
Well, they know how strong they are right now. They're 15k ahead. By the way, did I say 36? I meant about 130 stolen Agi. Torrent is going to be there with a Rupture toss back onto Yamate. He has no BKB. Mosen going to try and hookshot in, but the boat going to connect for a second there. Gabby going to pounce in after this clockwork. The Burrow Strike will not connect onto Gabby once again, and that pounce duration making it very hard for Mosen to be able to get out of there. And Gabby just pounces again. He's got so many stacks of Essence Shift. Barry will go down now. A triple kill out for Gabby. The X back out onto DDZ now. He's looking for an Ultra, but there's a Burrow Strike and an Epicenter. It's just not going to be enough. DDZ so close to dying, but Gabby will leave him be. He won't finish him off. Into the fountain for Gabby. Back to Candyloon now. Burrow Strike away from Candyloon, however. Back in we go, Tim's. Avalanche toss on Barry, but there's a Burrow Strike from DDZ. Still Gabby now. Gonna try for the pounce. Does miss. Will turn back around onto Mosen. Mosen needs to run back home, and he will. But at the Raxes, they're going after Armel and KP. KP does go down. Armel, he's a bit of a tankier target. They'll go back onto Gabby with the Burrow Strike. Yamate now pops the BKB. Another Burrow from DDZ. Armel does finally die. Now Mosen. Hookshots in. Back onto our Slug. But can they kill Gabby? They have so many stuns. They can finally get the Aegis. In fact, never mind. That wasn't an Aegis. That was his actual life. Oh boy. Man. That's a big team fight out for New Esports.
Yeah, great punishment out. TNC just diving a bit too deep, overstaying their welcome. I mean, their Aegis expired in that first fight. It was already gone. They knew it was gone. They tried to pull a sneaking one with the smoke. They get punished. New Esports gonna feel nice about that. From a 15k lead to 11k for TNC. A little bit of a claw back there for New Esports. They are starting to do work. DDZ is dancing around with his Morphling. He's actually doing spectacularly well despite being behind earlier on. It has caught up.
Avalanche toss out from Tim's, but Candy is going to Burrow Strike in. Still March is around the corner with the mech. No Hand of God yet, however. Tim's, Burrow Striked again. There's your Hand of God coming out. He's still alive. Mosen now going to be in a bit of danger and looks like he is going to die as KB cancels off Yamate's TP. Just leaves him there as he turns back around onto Mosen. Can't quite finish the job, but they do get Yamate. And that's the big one.
Oh boy. It's a back and forth one. Like, after all of that, you still lose Yamate at the end. You're still pretty happy with the progress in the game. That gap is growing a bit shorter. It's now 10k the way of TNC, so your cores are finding farm. DDZ, with that downtime, did manage to finish the E-Blade. So they're starting to put Yamate in the backseat, give DDC the space, and it should pay off. The Morphling is starting to look a lot better. All they really need from Yamate is to finish up that Heaven's Halberd. Once you've got that Halberd up, you can start to get some control out. The Slark's not going to be able to hit you. KP's not going to be able to hit you. That's what you want. But having DDZ at this size as well, it's going to be fantastic. Except, KP also has a Halberd now. So they've got some control for that right-click damage coming out from New Esports anyway.
Here come the tier 3 items. See how all this pans out. New. Just happy to have a bit of downtime for themselves. That net worth gap that we saw earlier has been reduced by just about 5k. So New are feeling very, very happy.
Wow, that's a really quick rush. Just 4 seconds from the actual cooldown, so it is back up. And TNC is in a good position to take it. No vision here from New Esports to spot the rush happening. They're going to have to be quick on their feet, and Mosen has to constantly spam that rocket flare out.
Well, they seem to want a team fight. There's your rocket flare. Nobody's there right now. Gabby. Let's get revealed. Rupture is going to be out on Candyloon. We'll go for the Sandstorm, but Dust is out. DDZ, Burrow striking in. Candy will 4-star to the high ground, and that's Barry. No, it wasn't. It was just a 4-star from Candy. That'll be it. Just a rupture expended. TNC, they seem a bit indecisive right now. They don't seem to be very confident trying for the Roshan play. They might feel like they need a pickoff or two.
They're a lot more cautious now that they're seeing the control New Esports has. The double burrow strike is costing them a lot of issues from DDZ. So him in the Sand King form is just a bit too much control. There's no defensive items up on TNC. They don't have any BKBs to speak of, except on Armel. So you don't have one on Gabby, you don't have one on KP. That does make it easier to control those big cores, and they can't even safely reach Chat Rush. There's just too much information given out here by New Esports.
Big group up here. Smoke from New Esports through the mid lane. They do make it fairly obvious they were smoked, however. They're going to try and wrap around to the Radiant Triangle. Gabby's courier going to fly past. TNC aren't going back that way, but rather they'll go towards the Dire base. Do you get Tim's courier? So TNC going to try and force a defense out and maybe rush for the Roshan pit after that. Nice little courier snipe out from Gabby. The Rax is exposed, so New Esports got to be a bit cautious. They will TP back in.
Yeah, that's a lot of TPs expended now. So if they wanted to go, this is their opportunity. They already do. They still maintain a creep with vision in the Roche pit. So New Esports, again, just playing back and forth here. A lot of caution from TNC. New Esports as well, not forcing any sort of big movements out. They're going to have that halberd on Yamate up soon. So again, that's a key piece of control coming out for New Esports. Should be able to see that in effect if a fight breaks out anytime soon. But again, just caution from every side, although Yamate a bit forward.
So many halberds coming out. Yamate has one now. It's a lot. Roshan. Still going to be scouted out by Mosen. TNC just can't catch a break with that Roshan yet. Didn't realize, but Armel has a Scythe of Vice up, apparently.
Oh, yeah. That control is going to be really helpful. It's going to keep DDZ pinned in place. And we were talking about TNC not having defensive items. DDZ went pretty deep in offense as well. There's a smoke now from New Esports. You know the Roche is happening.
They've got such a lineup that deals with the Roshan pit so well. They've got to take this fight. They've got double burrow strike. They've got call down. They've got hook shots. But unless Yamate gets caught like this, he could be in danger. They'll burrow strike in. Scythe device is out on the Morphling. Now the boat to fly out. TNC, they're going to try and focus down DDZ, and it looks like they've almost got him, but he is still alive. No Tims. He'll finish the job off. DDZ is down, and that is your main source of damage. And even Yamate now being left alone to die. And TNC, they're going to rush back for the Roshan.
That was a big mistake. New Esports, their smoke broke outside. Tims was preempting that movement. They didn't manage to find a better angle to come in. They got punished. TNC is going to find that second Roach for the Aegis and Cheese. They do have buybacks, at least on DDZ, so if they need it for the high ground, they're going to be able to have it. But look at this. Even Tims now has an E-Blade up, and that just makes it harder to fight in here.
Well, KP, he just forced the buyback by himself. He's going to dive for it. Gabby's going to rush in now. So KP giving up his own life for the buyback of DDZ. They kill him one more time, though. This game's basically over for New Esports. The DDZ has to be extremely cautious. Looks like he will just sit in his base and continue defending with the rest of his team. New Esports probably won't really want to force a fight until they do have that buyback back up.
Yeah, it's going to be a while for that one. TNC, for their part, are going to be waiting for Hand of God. They expended it right as KP died. They're going to want that up and running before the next fight. And of course, this gives them time to clear up and take some tier 4 items for themselves.
Oh, Timeless Relic is up on Tims. You gotta love that, John. Added spell damage, added debuff duration. Can't complain at all if you are Tims. New Esports just trying to take a little bit of the map back for themselves, as they do need to continue farming up. Bot tier 2 tower is going to be denied off. TNC. They'll let Armel start scouting out. In fact, Gabby is trying to get Mosin. Mosin did hook shot away. Armel couldn't get the X off in time. So that might be it for TNC. Do they want to try and force this? You've got KP back up.
Yeah, you've got Aegis and Cheese still. Hand of God is about half a minute off. I really reckon they're just going to wait for that additional heal. That's how they've been winning out these fights. They've got control of the jungle anyway. They can just keep farming up. They're going to have Ags on KP relatively soon too, about 1,100 gold off the Ags. So you'll have that up and running. You'll have additional Rupture charges. You've got an Abyssal flying in for Gabby, and then you're pretty much set. All of it lining up quite nicely here, and it should make it easier to siege your high ground with all of that control coming out.
I love the fact that March is even going for the Holy Locket now on the Chen. Just wanting to really amplify that heal. As well as that though, don't forget you can use your wand charges on your teammates now with Holy Locket. So it's essentially almost 400 HP worth of a burst heal. Still, Burrow Strike gonna come in for Candy. Blood Rights everywhere. But now slowly defending this new Esports. Tim's looking for a toss back, does get Burrow Striked up, but is X'd away. Now DDZ jumping in with his own stun, but Gabby will go straight after Barry in the back lines. They'll use him up. Barry's still in a lot of danger here and will go down. Now Gabby can turn back around and go for some more. They spot out Yamate. Armel gets aside the Vice off into the X-Torrent bow, but the BKB is there in time, and Mosin does hook shot in, but Gabby's not done. Still after Yamate, nobody's helping this gyrocopter out. He is just falling slowly but surely, and Gabby does end up killing him. DDZ trying to control the rest of the team by himself, but he just can't do it. In fact, he is torrented up now, but with that Sandstorm, he will be okay. Can't say the same about their racks, however. It may just finally go down. And with no buyback on Yamate, they might just go for another.
Yeah, nothing stopping them here. They've still got Ruptures up in KP. They don't have the Hand of God, but still fairly tanky on this end for TNC. They know they've got the numbers advantage.
KP, Rupture out on Candy. They won't waste their time. No, they will. Avalanche toss onto Barry without buyback. So that's your Rubik gone for 50, and now Gabby going on to DDZ. You see, going to get some damage out. Gabby still willing to go onto Candy. Bloodright is out on Mosin. Candy will be able to just get out of there. TNC back at it. Into the mid-racks, but they may force themselves to back off as Yamate is respawning, or maybe not. Tim's again with the X into the Avalanche toss. Will go after Candy. Doesn't quite finish him, but they do now have the mid-racks. Mosin getting Rod of A tossed up by KP. Gabby looking to go in after this clockwork and does get a very nice bash. Still, the Burrow Strike going to help out. Gabby is very low, but still has the Aegis. Another Burrow Strike, but they've lost Mosin. Now back onto the Morphling. They got the toss off with the Vessel, but he will waveform in time. Back to Candy Loon, trying to force stuff out of there, but it looks like he is gone, and now the pounce up from Gabby not going to be enough to hold down the Morph. But they got the mid-racks. I believe that'll be enough. Aegis still in... No, it did expire. So Gabby not willing to risk anything now, but March, he's been lifted up. Burrow Strike in, double Burrow Strike in fact, onto KP, but Tims will toss him out. Still the Adaptive Strike will follow. March also gone. New Esports, this could be their team fight. They've just got to be wary of Gabby in his own positioning, or maybe not. They'll get a Burrow Strike off, back onto Tims, but now they'll turn back around with the Hex out on the Morphling. He's falling very, very low, but the Burrow Strike out from Candy Loon, buying more time. Gabby will eat the cheese, trying to fight back. No, he's trying to retreat now, and he will just pounce away with the Aghanim Scepter, but Candy, looking for another stun out, will go after Armel, while Gabby, he does reset, going back in after DDZ. Armel's still alive, but there are boats flying everywhere. It's a boat fleet, in fact. Burrow Strike back onto Gabby. He does pop the Shadow Dance. Back onto Yamate now, but he's got to pounce out of there. Or does he? He resets again. Gabby's not done. He did see Gary for a sec, or Barry, I meant to say, for a second. Pounces around but won't find him.
Oh man,
Barry
New
will be
Esports.
fine.
New Esports on the edge with that defense. They do manage to find some punishment for TNC, but TNC still finds the objectives they want. They find the complete top set of racks. They find a mid set of racks. There's some damage done to those tier 4s as well from the creep waves coming in. They force some buybacks out. 41-19, 21k net worth lead. It's still TNC's match to lose. But New Esports, they're not making it easy for TNC. They're putting up a fight. DDZ, he's been on point in the Morphling. Just, again, that Sand King form. The 2 Sand Kings running around with the stuns. It's a bit too much for TNC to handle at times. And TNC, with their build-up, emphasizing that they don't have BKBs. They have one on Armel, that's it. They don't have anything defensive on Gabby to have him just stand in front. Nothing on KP as well. And that is what's holding them back in these fights. Every single time the stuns come out, they are just kind of stuck if they are caught out like that.
They'll wait it out. New Esports. 20k behind now. It is looking pretty rough.
Scanning for enemies.
The Dota Plus. The Genius AI is setting 96% for TNC. It was higher, mind you. New Esports are still fighting back. So you start to question how much further they can push this. They may have a lot of confidence in the fact that they might be able to outscale Gabby on the Slark, but it is easier said than done here.
Oh, for sure. It's difficult. Like, every single time Gabby finds a kill, he's gonna get a free piece of Agi. He's got 23 stacks of permanent Agi up. It's a ton of stats
Easy.
on that alone.
Let's catch out Tims. Tims does have the E-Blade, does blink away. Barry knows where he's gone, but they can't get the lift off in time. Oh, Barry, he had the spider legs as well. Bit unfortunate there for Barry.
Yeah, a scary spot for Tims, but he is just trying to buy that space across the map. That movement up top opens up the bot lane. Gabby has shoved it in. They're just setting themselves up to keep pressure on the one remaining Rax lane. So it's going to be tricky for New Esports to be all over this map. They don't have travels in any of their teammates. They don't have ways of getting around the map quick enough. And TNC can just chip away like this, just playing the split push game.
Armel. Love to get a pick off here. Armel going for the Octarine core up next, by the way, John.
Ooh, love it.
Just really wants those lower cooldowns. Can't blame him.
Yeah, just adding in, right? Like, having a lower cooldown in Ghost Fleet is going to help. I think X is really where it's at. So you're going to have that piece of control up a lot more often than expected. New Esports, on their end, they're still waiting for that Scotty to be up from DDZ. He's holding out for the buyback, as you would want at this point. You're seeing Yamate build into the AC for himself in the Gyrocopter, so just a little bit more durability flying out in the Gyro. Really a lot less emphasis on the Gyro as a damage dealer here. He's just gone full utility with his build-up, and that's really the role he's going to be stuck in.
It's a sad position for Yamate. Haven't even seen much morphing into the Gyro this game. Like, it's just constantly been the Sand King. You can appreciate the fact that you do want the added Burrow Strike rather than the added DPS from the Flak Cannon. Drop shot, gonna be out into the toss back, and now the X back perhaps? No, it is on Tims. Yamate with the BKB, gonna be alright. Or is he? KP gets another rupture out onto Yamate. The Blood Right, but he does TP.
Oh man, I love those plays. They're really just trying to force some movements out here from New Esports. TNC is just trying to force something out. It's not happening. New Esports are just way too disciplined right now. They've stuck together. They're not biting into the bait. This has stalled out long enough for the Roche to be up. So third Roshan of the game. There's an Ag's Blessing on his pocket as well. And New Esports, it's time to keep scouting the Roche bit. Mozen's just got to spam that flare out.
They do. I don't believe you can afford to let this one go. You need to go for the fight if you're New Esports. They have smoked up. but Tim's is going to be X'd in, Avalanche and X back, and that's buying more time for Gabby, but he's going to get out of the pit and go for the team fight. Onto Yamate, Candy. Doesn't connect with the burrow. Nice pounce out from Gabby. Does connect onto the gyrocopter, but Mosen going to push him back with the cogs. Now DDZ back in, but he's in a bit of danger as Gabby has the Abyssal Blade. Still trying to go after KB now. Hook shot back in from Mosen. Armel gets the X off of the side. The Vice is looking bad for our Morphling, but he does Burrow Strike. No, DDZ, he will die mid-Burrow Strike. Now the Epi out from Candy, but it does nothing. And Yamate has been caught and they call it GG, well played. TNC at 49.5 minutes in will take game number 1.
All right, it's a hard-fought victory for TNC and U Esports, putting up a valiant fight with their draft. It was a slow start for them. They found a bounce back mid-game. Their lineup was starting to find some space to fight in, but in the end, it's just too difficult